Hello, everyone. I'm go ahead and I'm going to share my screen with you all. Thank you so much for joining today. For those of you that aren't familiar with me, my name is Carly Dawdell. I've been at ShipBob for 7 years, so know a lot of things about ShipBob and know a lot about e-commerce and fulfillment. I manage the tech partnerships team here at ShipBob. And to give you a little overview of who ShipBob is we handle all things logistics. We have 50 warehouses in the US and 6 international locations where brands can send their physical inventory to our warehouses and we can pick, pack, and ship it out for you. We specialize in 2-day shipping, and we also have our WMS, which stands for Warehouse Management Solution, for brands that have their own warehouse and want to take advantage of our technology and of course, our discounted shipping rates. We work with a ton of amazing brands, but just to highlight a few, I have to highlight TB12 because of the recent roast on Netflix. And then, of course, we have Chamberlain Coffee, Touchland, 100 Thieves, and Pet Labs. I'm super excited to introduce our next speaker, who is actually a friend of mine, Lauren from Gorgias. Gorgias is a direct integration partner of ShipBob, and I'm super excited for Lauren to join us on stage today. She's going to be speaking about how to build an omni-channel customer support strategy. So without further ado, Lauren, I will hand it off to you and I will stop screen sharing. And then just to kick things off in the chat, if you have any questions for Lauren, you can, of course, pop them into the chat. I highly encourage it. She is an expert and will be able to answer your questions. And yeah, if you can just go ahead and start with where you're joining in from today, that would be amazing just to get the chat going. But Lauren, I'll, of course, now hand it off to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that introduction, Carly. Really appreciate it and happy to be here. I'm really excited to be chatting with you all. And just a quick side note, I'm tuning in from Los Angeles, California. So shout out to everybody in SoCal. But let me go ahead and pull up my screen now so we can get started. All right. Everybody can see this okay, I hope. There we go.
Yeah, you're good to go, Lauren.
All right, amazing. So today, as Carly mentioned, we're going to be talking about how to build an omni-channel customer support strategy. As I already mentioned, my name's Lauren. I'm a senior partner manager here at Gorgias, based in LA. Here's my email. I'll also throw it in the chat a little later if any questions arise after this presentation. So before we dive into strategy, I want to just introduce who Gorgias is in a little bit more depth. So we are an e-commerce help desk, specifically designed for e-commerce. We have 8 offices worldwide, over 15,000 merchants worldwide, and over 43,000 daily users. And so just to speak volumes of like what our ecosystem looks like, about out of that 15,000 customer base, about 94% of our merchants are Shopify or Shopify Plus. Now, I did mention we are the number one, e-commerce platform in the space, but we are also ranked number 1 to automate CX with AI. So how we do this is bringing in all customer service inquiries into one place between email, chat, social. We integrate with a multitude of e-commerce platforms like Shopify. We can also integrate with WooCommerce, BigCommerce, Magento, and we're able to actually automate over 60% of customer support. So this comes to like frequently asked questions and things like that. And with our, massive integration capability, pretty much anything in the Shopify ecosystem, you can integrate with Gorgias, which is a big plus, especially what we're going to talk about today. So now let's get into, what's happening in today's e-commerce world, right? There's a few things to keep in mind when we think about consumers, when we think about our customers. So average first contact time is now over 7 hours, where total resolution time is over 20. Now, that's a lot of time for a consumer to be waiting around and give them the opportunity to go about searching for other similar brands who might contact them back quicker. And we do know that 90% of customers, they actually rate an immediate response as important or very important when they have a customer service question. So being efficient and quick in responses can ultimately give a brand a competitive advantage. And we also hear it time and time again, like, I feel like I'm just another ticket, or I keep getting bounced around. Customer experience really hinges on consistent personal interactions that you're having with them. And if we think about how the average consumer is talking to their friends, family, even acquaintances on a daily basis, they're doing it through avenues that are easy to manage, like SMS or some kind of messaging tool. So including these in a customer service, plan, or I should just say customer experience plan, it's going to, really add a personal human touch. And customer service and support software makes providing memorable and delightful experience that much easier by keeping these processes aligned and brands organized with customer communication. Now, on the other side of the fence, right, and this is probably going to be very relatable to some brands here, is that because of these pain points consumers are facing, merchants end up paying the price. So first point here is, slow response time actually leads to higher service costs. One thing that really comes to mind when I think about this are phone calls. Like phone calls, yes, they're great. A lot of brands still have this as a channel to intake customer queries. But in North America, the average cost to a brand is $8 per call. And I don't want to say there's no automation, but there's little room for, kind of personalized automation at scale when it comes to a channel like a phone call. So again, back to slow response time, you're kind of prolonging, if you have a high first response time, like over 7 hours, that's time wasted on getting that customer actually converted. Second, lack of personalization. This can actually lead to lost sales opportunities. So one, if you're not present on the channels where your customers are active, like social media, so for instance, Instagram, TikTok, things like that, that could lead to lost sales opportunities. Chat functionality also comes to mind with that as well. If you don't have chat present on your site where, you can help to, be a consultant and guide a customer to the right pair of jeans they're looking for, or the perfect coffee machine for their home, that lacks a personalized touch and experience. Because just like, 20 years ago, we were so used to shopping in department stores. You go into a department store, you interact with, one of the reps there, and they kind of guide you through that process. Even though customers aren't saying it, they're still craving the same kind of experience. So having that personalized approach is important. And then lastly, I think this is the biggest thing, siloed data leads to loss efficiency and a lower customer satisfaction score. Because as a brand, you're having to be on a multitude of channels, like between email, between chat, phone calls, social media channels. That's a lot of different tabs to keep open. That's a lot of different platforms to have to check. So by having everything spread out in a million places, it can lead to lost efficiency, especially leading to longer response times, longer resolution times, ultimately lower customer satisfaction. So really what the point I'm trying to make here is that customer service, customer experience, it is foundational for a brand's growth. And customer experience really needs to encompass, the entire process of the e-commerce lifecycle, from, starting with the ad that attracts the consumer, then that consumer ends up on the website, makes a purchase, goes to logistics and fulfillment, product gets shipped to reach the customer. And once the customer ideally has the product, that's typically where people think customer service begins, when really it should be at the very, very beginning. And also, side note, it's actually much cheaper to retain a customer than it is to acquire a new one. So now let's get into some tips I have to, make sure your strategy is strong and you have this solid foundation to wow your customers. So first off, your tech stack should speak together. This is super, super important. And what I mean by this is that, you have Shopify or whatever e-commerce platform you're on. If you're not able to, intake tracking information from your fulfillment center, if you're not able to intake, loyalty points or subscription data, just in that one place, it's going to be very hard to know who your customer is when you're responding to them. And like, for example, I have an image here on this slide. It shows on our end, if you're integrated with Shopify, it'll actually show full order history, customers' historical spend, any Shopify tags, like if they're a VIP customer. And this data is, again, very crucial to provide a personalized response and keep things efficient, because now you're not having to go back and forth between tabs, between platforms. Additionally, I mentioned earlier, having everything integrated, like subscription information, things of that nature, into one place is going to be important. Well, on top of that, being able to also, have social media channels connected is going to allow you to see that full timeline, that full customer journey that specific customer has had with your brand. So you can see if, a certain customer has reached out in the past and now they've reached out again, and maybe this time they didn't have such a great experience with their order transaction. Well, now you can go back and see what their past experiences have been, and makes it, gives more insight to how you can ultimately make it right. Second tip here is be where the consumers are. So, and what I mean by this is leverage social media to build community, increase retention, and drive sales. So really engaging with customers before they even get to your website is really crucial nowadays, because there's some people who, don't like social media at all. I totally get it. It can be a time suck, but most people are on there. That's how they're connecting with family and friends that live across the country, across the world. And so it's no different when it comes to e-commerce. So as a brand, prioritizing things like comments and DMs and leveraging something like machine learning and rules can help, to organize inquiries that are coming in as, potential upsells, potential, just new customers coming into your bucket. And these kinds of interactions, they do typically gain a greater return on ad spend, with identification of warm leads. So really being able to focus on these channels is going to provide a world of difference. And I mentioned already, but driving sales and retaining current customers. So here's a couple of examples I have of that. The first one, responding to prospective customers' questions. You can see here, somebody commented, it was Tanya in this case, having the hardest time finding my shade. In this case, our client, it is a makeup company. They went ahead and recommended taking a quiz. And not only are they helping this particular customer, but now they are, posting this comment, this response publicly. And you can see there's 31 additional likes. Now those 31 people know about this Power Match quiz that they can take, ultimately continuing to drive more sales and grow their customer base. Secondly, no comment should go untouched, especially if it's in a public place. So in this case, Proven Skincare responded to a positive comment that was left. And, this again goes kind of with the same thought process of everybody's going to see this. People recognize if you're not responding to every single interaction that customers are initiating on posts, on things of that nature. So it's going to make a world of difference when people can see like, hey, like, this brand is actually truly interacting. They're interested in what, their customers have to say. And that all goes back to, kind of looping it around with being omnichannel, like having some way where all of your tech stack, including your social media channels, can go ahead and be connected. But, of course, in order to focus on questions and queries that require more attention, such as these, it's more important than ever to really leverage tools that will be able to get customers the answers that they need and want quickly. And this will ultimately give brands a competitive advantage too. So third tip, empower customers to find their own answers. And some ways that you can actually do this is through like setting up some kind of chat bot or setting up an FAQ or help center, and even giving your customers the ability to track and manage their own orders without any agent, out any like actual human intervention. I already mentioned before, 90% of customers, they rate an immediate customer service response as important or very important, but also 60% of people who needed support, they defined immediate as 10 minutes or less. So if you are a brand and are taking longer than that to reply to a customer, then that is definitely noticeable. Additionally, 71% of customers expect companies to communicate with them in real time. And by real time, I don't mean like needing to, respond with a personalized message right away from an actual, agent, but more so they just want their answers in front of them. They don't care how they get it. At the end of the day, they just want the information they need, and they want it to be easy to find. And Harvard Business Review actually did find that 88% of customers, specifically in the US, they did expect organizations to offer a self-service support portal. And that might include elements, as I mentioned earlier, like an FAQ page, a chat bot, an overall comprehensive knowledge base. But, overall, in addition to providing these tools to, help with customer expectations and response times, it's going to actually reduce the burden of your customer support team as a whole, then giving them the opportunity to be able to spend more time on responding to, comments on Instagram, comments on Facebook, interact with people who are utilizing TikTok Shop, that sort of thing. So overall, self-service, very, very important. And then last tip here, leveraging AI, which I know, the talk of the town right now. If you're not talking about AI, I feel like, you're living in a hole or something, but AI is becoming more and more important than ever. Although I know can be a little scary, it's going to help make a world of difference. And so, leveraging AI, like whether it's generative AI or, something of that nature, you can actually train AI to be tailored to your brand's identity. AI can learn and adapt to provide personalized support, ensuring that every interaction reflects brand's values, policies, and tone. And, even here at Gorgias, we have been playing around with AI quite a bit. We have seen this result in consistently higher CSAT scores. Like, customers are actually extremely satisfied when interacting with some of our own AI that we're utilizing for our own support with our own customers. And, there's at times AI can actually personalize responses better than a human agent. And this is because it's restating parts of the customer's questions that are helping them feel understood. And it's typically super, super fast. And on the contrary side, people can say that, oh, like, I think AI is going to be, taking away jobs. Not necessarily, because there is going to need to be manpower to actually train the AI, and rather we should think of AI as a complement to an actual human customer service team to take on the repetitive and the routine tickets that usually create a backlog for the rest of the team. And this, further opens up bandwidth for human agents to focus on more strategic and even more complex issues than increasing the overall efficiency of the support team as a whole. So on that note, I want to leave you with this, a recap, 4 tips. Your tech stack should speak together, like whether that's using Gorgias or not. If you're using Shopify or whatever e-commerce platform, choose a tech stack that can work together seamlessly and that is able to leverage, each other's information. That's where you're going to find the most value. Second, be where your consumers are, specifically social media. These channels are absolutely huge, especially in creating brand awareness, building community, and even locking down new revenue. And then these are actually kind of flip-flopped, apologies, but I did talk about empowering customers to find their own answers, done through self-service avenues like FAQ, help centers, chatbots. And then, of course, don't be afraid to leverage AI. AI is going to be here to help you. It's going to be here to help continue to grow and take off some of the strain that, your teams might be feeling, especially during peak seasons when you get the same questions answered or asked over and over again. Let AI handle those, and your team can take on those that are much more complex. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren, so much. That was amazing, per usual. And yeah, just a huge congratulations as a whole to Gorgias. I know you guys recently just announced another raise of capital, which is super exciting. Some quick questions we have from the chat are, one, personally, this is my own question, but really curious. You mentioned a lot about AI and how it can be helpful. What is Gorgias's plan to incorporate AI into its platform?
Yeah. Well, thank you for the congratulations. Yes, it's definitely a huge win. We actually do already have quite a bit of AI already built into our platform specifically. However, we're continuously working to get that leveled up. So for example, actually today, we just released an open beta to our Automate subscribers AI agent, which is literally as it sounds. It's a AI agent that you can name whatever you want, and it's going to be able to respond to tickets that are incoming in via email. And it actually leverages help center that brands have built within Gorgias to actually answer inquiries in a human-like way. Down the road, it's going to be able to also be leveraged in places like chat, social media, like responding to those kinds of questions. And then also we'll be able to initiate actions as well, like Shopify actions, subscription actions via recharge. But first iteration is email. So if anybody here is a Gorgias client and is utilizing Automate already, check out that open beta. It's we've gotten a lot of great feedback, and as I mentioned, we've been testing it internally, even with our own support team. CSAT is just as high as our actual human support team. I think last time I checked, it was like a few weeks ago. Our AI agent actually had a 4.3 CSAT out of 5. So,
oh, wow,
really major.
Yeah, I can see that saving brands a lot of time and energy, especially with the basic questions that they probably get all the time. And then the final question I have for you, and I always like to ask this question, is what's a brand that you think is, crushing the customer support game in terms of like doing very well? They check all the boxes from like a Gorgias perspective. I always like to ask that question. Just for myself and for any brands on the call to mirror, another brand that's doing a really good job.
Yeah. So, I mean, for one, keeping conversations organized, like using some kind of help desk, right? Because at the end of the day, there are just a multitude of channels that there's no way to stay on top and stay efficient if you're having to constantly check your Instagram DMs, constantly having to check your inbox. So Gorgias or not, invest in a customer support tool. Secondly, it's, also look at all of the tools that you already have, that you are already subscribed to, and make sure that they're being optimized properly. Because I see it time and time again where, there's brands who are signed up for multiple apps. Some of the apps actually have similar functionality. And, I know a big topic now more than ever is like, how can we save overhead costs? Can we save money? Reevaluate your tech stack and, maybe even just if you have time or, maybe hire somebody outside to just do a quick audit and ensure that you're using all your tools to the highest extent, right? The furthest extent. And then also lastly, it's, leveraging, it kind of connects to the second point, but if any of the tools that you have AI or automation features, really look into leveraging those, because believe it or not, it's going to save you a lot of time, and it's not as scary as you think. You're going to be able to see a world of difference in terms of how much time you have to, respond to upsell questions or, better optimize, things on your website when you're not having to constantly, answer things like, where is my order? Or not having to constantly like go in and manually pause a subscription. So, yeah, those would be my top 3 things that I've seen, at least with merchants on my end, that have been very successful.
Yeah, such a good call out. I couldn't agree more. Connect your tech stack, see what apps you need, see what apps you don't need, and of course, use AI. It's a powerful tool and it can really help and save time. So it's really great to hear that Gorgias is coming out with new features. That's super exciting. And then again, Lauren, if you can just drop your email in the chat. For anyone that wants to follow up with Lauren, please feel free to reach out to her directly. You can also reach out to the ShipBob team, and we will be happy to connect you with Lauren as well. But Lauren, thank you so much for your time today. I honestly always learn something new about Gorgias through these presentations. So of course, really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. And thanks so much for having me. It was fun.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.